let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the elephant in the newsroom. India, the world's largest democracy, seems to be having a complicated relationship with one of its founding pillars, a free press. Over the last decade, under the Modi administration, there's been a growing unease about the state of our free press. Are journalists truly free to do their job, to report without fear or favor? Are critical voices being muzzled? These aren't just academic questions. They are the very essence of a functioning democracy. It's about understanding the subtle and not so subtle ways in which the media landscape is being reshaped. So buckle up, dear reader, as we delve into the story of India's free press, a story that is both exhilarating and concerning, hopeful and heartbreaking, all at once. Because in the words of the great Iqbal Ahmad, silence is complicity, and complicity is suicide. The year was 2014. Narendra Modi, with his promises of development and growth, swept into power, ushering in a new era for India. But for many journalists, the victory fanfare was tinged with a hint of unease. Modi, a charismatic yet shrewd politician, had long maintained a frosty relationship with the media. His tenure as Chief Minister of Gujarat was marked by accusations of muzzling dissent and controlling the narrative. Fast forward a decade, and that unease has morphed into something more profound. India has slipped to the 150th rank out of 180 countries in the 2023 World Press Freedom Index, a dismal statistic that speaks volumes about the current climate. From physical attacks on journalists to online harassment campaigns, the pressure on the Indian media is undeniable. The government's tight control over advertising revenue, a lifeline for many media houses, has created an environment of self-censorship. Critical voices are often sidelined, replaced by a chorus of cheerleaders towing the official line. But amidst this bleak landscape, there are still glimmers of hope, pockets of resistance where journalists continue to fight for their right to report freely and hold the powerful accountable. Now let's talk about the dark art of bureaucratic warfare. In the hands of a determined government, seemingly innocuous rules and regulations can become potent weapons to subdue the press. Take the example of the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, or FCRA, a law originally intended to regulate foreign funding for NGOs. In recent years, the FCRA has been used with increasing frequency to target media organizations critical of the government. The modus operandi is simple, yet effective. Slap the organization with an FCRA violation, freeze their bank accounts, and tie them up in a legal quagmire that can take years to resolve. And it's not just the FCRA. From defamation suits to sedition charges, the legal arsenal at the government's disposal is vast and varied. This weaponization of bureaucracy has a chilling effect on investigative journalism, discouraging reporters from tackling sensitive issues that could land them in trouble. Because when the press is silenced, when journalists are afraid to do their job, it's the truth that suffers. Don't just take my word for it. Let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth, or rather, the journalists on the ground facing the heat every single day. Meet Rana Ayub, an award-winning investigative journalist known for her fearless reporting on sensitive issues like the Gujarat riots and the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. She's been subjected to relentless online harassment, death threats, and even a criminal investigation based on fabricated charges. Then there's Siddharth Varadarajan, the founding editor of The Wire, an independent news website known for its critical coverage of the government. The Wire has been slapped with multiple defamation suits, including one for a staggering Rs 100 crores. These lawsuits, often filed by powerful individuals with close ties to the ruling party, are nothing more than slap suits, strategic lawsuits against public participation designed to intimidate and silence critical voices. Across India, journalists, especially those from marginalized communities, are facing increasing pressure, intimidation, and violence. Welcome to the age of digital warfare, where keyboards are weapons and trolls are the foot soldiers. In India, the rise of social media has coincided with the emergence of a vast and well-oiled machinery of online hate and propaganda. At the heart of this machinery lies the IT cell, a shadowy network of individuals allegedly linked to the ruling party, dedicated to spreading disinformation and attacking critics online. These digital mercenaries operate with impunity, flooding social media platforms with hate speech, threats, and character assassination campaigns. Journalists, especially women journalists, are often the prime targets of these attacks. They are subjected to vile abuse, sexual harassment, and threats of violence, all designed to silence them and discourage them from doing their job. The constant barrage of abuse takes a toll on the mental and emotional well-being of journalists, forcing many to self-censor or even abandon their profession altogether. It creates an atmosphere of fear and intimidation where critical voices are drowned out by a chorus of hate. In a healthy democracy, dissent isn't just tolerated, it's welcomed. But in India today, the space for dissent is shrinking, slowly but surely. Critical voices, whether in the media, academia, or civil society, are increasingly being labeled as anti-national or urban naxals, a catch-all term used to discredit anyone who questions the government's policies or ideology. This labeling has a chilling effect on free speech, creating an environment where people are afraid to express their opinions for fear of being branded as traitors. The government's intolerance towards criticism is evident in its dealings with the media. Press conferences, once a regular feature of Indian democracy, have become a rarity. Academics, activists, and even students have faced harassment, intimidation, and even arrest for expressing views deemed critical of the government. It's not just Indians who are concerned about the state of our free press. International watchdogs and human rights organizations have also been raising the alarm, expressing their concerns about the shrinking space for dissent in India. The Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, a global organization that promotes press freedom, has ranked India among the deadliest countries for journalists in recent years. In its 2023 World Press Freedom Index, Reporters Without Borders, RSF, noted that the violence against journalists, the politically partisan media, and the concentration of media ownership all demonstrate that press freedom is in crisis in the world's largest democracy. These international reports, while often dismissed by the Indian government as biased or motivated, paint a worrying picture of the state of freedom of expression in India. The erosion of press freedom isn't just an abstract concept, it has real human consequences. When journalists are silenced, when the truth is suppressed, it's the ordinary citizens who suffer the most. Because a free and independent media is not a luxury, it's the cornerstone of a functioning democracy. It's the watchdog that holds the powerful accountable, the platform that amplifies the voices of the marginalized, and the source of information that citizens need to make informed decisions. When the media is muzzled, it creates a void, a vacuum where misinformation and propaganda thrive. Without a free press, corruption flourishes, human rights abuses go unreported, and the government operates with impunity. It's the ordinary citizens who pay the price, their voices silenced, their rights violated, their stories untold. So what can be done? Is there hope for India's free press? The answer, my friends, lies not in despair but in action. The fight for truth, for a free and independent media, is not just the responsibility of journalists. It's a shared responsibility. The citizens of this great democracy must recognize the vital role that a free press plays in safeguarding our freedoms and holding our leaders accountable. They must stand up for their right to information, their right to dissent, their right to a free and fair press. We must support independent media outlets, both financially and morally. We must be critical consumers of information, questioning everything we read and hear, and verifying information from multiple sources. Despite the challenges, despite the pressure, despite the threats, there is still hope. Across India, a new breed of independent media outlets is emerging, challenging the status quo and pushing the boundaries of journalism. Unconstrained by corporate interests or government pressure, these outlets are providing a platform for diverse voices and holding the powerful accountable. These are the stories of courage, of resilience, of the unwavering belief in the power of truth. These journalists, often working with limited resources and facing immense pressure, are the true heroes of our time. They are the ones who remind us that even in the darkest of times, the flame of truth cannot be extinguished. So let us celebrate these courageous voices, support their work, and amplify their message. This is not the time for apathy, my friends. This is the time to be informed, to be engaged, to raise our voices and demand better from our leaders, because the future of our democracy depends on it. So I leave you with this thought. What will you do to protect India's free press? Will you be a silent spectator or an active participant in this fight for truth? Stay tuned, stay informed, stay engaged, and don't forget to subscribe. Support independent journalism, share this video, and let your voice be heard.